Before we begin, thank you very much to James B. for joining my Patreon campaign. Thank you so much for the support. It means the world to me. I'm not going to spend too long on the shout out this time because this is going to be one of those videos I make for me. I know that this is not a video that is typically in my wheelhouse. It's not typically something I talk about, but it's literally all I can think about today. So I'm sorry if we're going to take a quick break from Transformers. We're going to talk something a little bit different. So last night was the finale to The Owl House, a show on Disney that I immediately fell in love with just from the sound and the concept alone, and then seeing it. Oh, so this is how we're going to do this. So I really want to talk this show for a long time. I always told myself I need to do it with more structure. I need to do it more polished. I need to introduce a new format to talk cartoons on this channel because I haven't talked cartoons in years on this channel. However, I've also been a big proponent lately of it doesn't have to be perfect. It just has to be. So, and with the finale out of the way, there's like no other day that I could really do this. So let's go ahead and do it. We will shoot from the hip, talk from the heart, and just discuss a really, really engaging and genuinely well-made cartoon. So, I'm scrolling through a whole bunch of images from season 1 because this is a spoiler-free section of the review. I'm going to be talking about a general overview of the show, premise, etc., all the setups, because I really do want to see if you guys will go out and watch the show on Disney Plus or YouTube or the official uploads on YouTube, because it really is worth seeing. It really is worth seeing. And then I'll give you a hard warning of when we are switching into spoiler territory, at which time we'll change the slideshow to something a little bit more across the board. All right, so premise, the overall idea of the show. It's an isekai. It's just one of those. Luz is a girl who is caught up in her own imagination. She's incredibly creative, searching for outlets for it to the point where it is disruptive enough that her mom feels it's best for her to go to summer camp, work some of it out, maybe get a little bit more of a seriousness to her, try to work some of this over imagination and fantasizing out of her head. She doesn't end up in camp. She ends up following an owl into an old house that sends her into the demon realm. Now remember, this is a Disney cartoon. We've gone into the demon realm, which is a little bit different. So, the demon realm is populated by witches, which is not just, a female warlock. It is literally just the race of humanoids in this world, and it extends to all manner, as you can see on the screen right now. So, the demon realm is what it sounds like. It is a land of demons and really macabre imagery. It can be a little bit dark for a Disney show from, for kids. It's a little bit of it's a jump. It's definitely different, but that's great. It's absolutely great for that. It makes it stand out. It's very different from what Disney normally does. That might be to its detriment. We'll talk about that here toward the end of the video. But for now, it makes for a wonderful setting for Luz, who is now in this world where magic is commonplace. Everyone in the world, in this part of the area known as the Boiling Isles, everyone is on some kind of magic track in school. There are different types of magic that are practiced. And in school, you learn to specialize in one track in order to eventually join a coven, where your powers are more focused and more honed, and then you are given a seal that means you can only practice that magic from now on. Except, at first, Luz does not end up in that particular system. No. She ends up with the one on screen now, Ida the Owl Lady. Ida is a practitioner of wild magic. She does not belong to a coven, and she practices all different types of magic that the Boiling Isles has to offer, and then a few that don't even seem to have a track. She just kind of is her own thing, but it also makes her the most powerful witch in the Boiling Isles. It's a fantastic character. So she's also something of a wanted criminal. There's that thing. So she spends most of her time in the titular Owl House, which is also the home of King, who claims to be the king of all demons, and Hootie, a house demon that is basically a very long bird tube thing. Who needs a trip? Who needs a trip? But no, this is Luz getting to spend her time in a world of magic, in a place where her imagination can run free and where very many things from her imagination are real. And she takes it upon herself to try and learn magic for herself. Not something humans can normally do because the boiling, because you're not a witch. You don't have what it takes to be, you do not have what it takes to have magic in this world. She's going to try anyway, though. And she does figure it out herself. And yes, there is a villain. There is an emperor by the name of Belos. And talking about him, I can mention he exists. I can mention he's the villain because it's very obvious he's the villain as soon as you meet him. There he is now. Obvious villain. I can't really go into too much about him because, oh my god. Oh my god, the spoilers. So, without spoiling anything, I will tell you that I find the show to be extremely well voice acted for starters. There's some incredibly strong performances that are very good at going back and forth between much more comedic and intentionally awkward bits to just horrific trauma and just absolutely devastated characters. It is a very strong cast who does a fantastic job at what they do. And then the writing, oh my. So The Owl House was one of those shows where the joke on the Reddit was every single episode everyone declares is the best episode. Well, Owl House kind of does that, like once we get halfway through season 1, pretty much every episode starts hitting stronger than the last. And season 2 especially is just non-stop and just does not let up. And it's awesome to see. It's incredibly engaging. But that's not to say the first half of season 1 is bad. There's a few episodes that are very trope heavy. There is a body swap episode that everyone kind of agrees is the worst. But if you enjoy those cheesy, kind of campy tropes in cinema and TV, then you're going to be completely fine with it. And it's still very fun. It's still very enjoyable. And yeah, the strong character performances and the strong writing come through even in these weird little episodes. I still find them enjoyable. Just by comparison to what comes later, it's nowhere close. Phenomenally well-written show. Music, too. So, music and animation, the technical points of this. The music's great, sets tone very, very well. When it needs to be in the background, it's in the background. When it needs to drive the action on screen, it is driving hard. And speaking of the action on screen, this is one of those shows that throws some extra animation budget into its big moments. You can actually tell when it goes from what I call like Disney TV animation to Disney movie animation. There are scenes that come out of this that genuinely look like big budget Disney doing what Disney does best, which is super fluid animation. Great to see, and always saved for like the really cool moments. Yeah, like I could keep gushing about just how good the show itself is, and the even the side casts I haven't discussed. You've got Willow, who specializes in we'll let you figure that one out. But she kind of it's the confidant for Luz. It's the other girl in the team, and very different from Luz because she lacks a lot of Luz's confidence at first. And then you've got Gus, who is obsessed with the human realm because the human realm does leak into the demon realm bit by bit, tiny bit at a time. And then you've got other characters I could talk about. You could talk about your Gushes. You could talk about your Principal Bump and all that. The standout character was Amity, who has a tremendous growth arc throughout the entirety of the series. But when we first meet her, she is something of like the top student bully type, where looking down on anyone who is not, equal to her, which to her at the time was nobody. She comes a long way. Trust me on this one. So from that, I'm giving you like as much as I can off the top of my head. There's plenty of story to go through. There are character origins. There's the secrets of the Boiling Isles, the secrets of Bellows, the demon realm and human realms connections. Lots that I could go over without, but it'd go into spoiler territory. If I've piqued your interest, please go watch it on Disney Plus. Go watch the episodes that they've posted on YouTube. They are worth watching. It's worth going out of your way for the show. Do the Disney free trial thing and just binge the Owl House the next time you get a free weekend. That is actually a good plan. All right. So from here, let me see if I can do this on the fly. Probably not, but we're going to see. From here, we're going to remove that. And I'm going to go into number 2. Oh, that didn't work. All right, now can we talk spoilers? Now can we talk spoilers? Can we just gush about this show? And yes, I'm going to go into literally everything. Oh my god, this show's so well written. All right, so character talk. Let's talk some characters here. So the show is so good at making these super strong characters that take time to become strong. It's one of those. It's a show that I say is incredibly well versed at pacing. Pacing is great in the show all the way around. So, I mentioned Willow being the type who's, very insecure about who she is and what she does. We start the series, she's in the Abomination magic track because that's the big career track. But it's not the one she's gifted at. She's far more gifted at plant magic. So, it's Luz that helps push her through to that. And thanks to her friendship with Luz, we start to see her grow. We start to see her gain more confidence, not only in her magical ability, but her physical ability. She kind of becomes the jock and the muscle of the team, which is an awesome transformation for someone who starts off the series super low confident. Gus, likewise, Gus gets to mature a lot throughout the series. He gets to, he's starting to find his own way too without being too human obsessive. I will say Gus, I wish did a little bit more. Gus kind of felt like another friend for a lot of the series. He gets great episodes, and he does get great character relations with others, but he himself, I don't think, does a whole lot of growth, which is interesting because his character literally has a growth spurt between seasons, because the voice actor went through puberty. And instead of recasting him to keep a young voice on the character, they just invented witch puberty, which is like overnight growth spurt and deeper voice. So good on them. I actually really like that they did that for him. What else can we talk about? I mean, there's Lilith, the sister of Ida, who is responsible for Ida's curse, and goes from like one of the top Emperor's Coven villains to a very delightful character herself. And her friendship with Hootie that she forms is so just like weird and genuine at the same time. It makes Hootie goes from a kind of an annoying character to super endearing because of his relationship with Lilith, and it's great and wonderful to see. We could talk about Hunter, who goes on this tremendous story himself of Hunter's story is self-discovery. It is going from who he's told that he was to finding out who he really is. And it takes Luz, it takes friendship with Willow and Gus, in particular his palisman. I didn't even mention palismans because I didn't want to spoil that in the first part. If you're still watching, you don't care about spoilers, you just want to hear me talk. Palismans are little magical pets that form the staves of these characters. And the one that connects to Hunter is kind of integral to his growth and just a really endearing character himself. It's a really special show where a little bird can make you feel things very, very strongly. Yeah. So character-wise, like just going into characters I couldn't mention in the non-spoiler section is so good. And then I love what they did with Bellows. Bellows is phenomenal as a villain. I loved that they figured out a way to take a literal Salem era witch hunter and make him the villain in the world of witches. That's great. And he's so full of himself and trying to be the hero for the cause he thinks is right, when it's very clear to anyone not that he's just insane, right? So he makes a phenomenal villain, a great foil for not only the rest of the hero cast, but also Luz, who kind of doubts her place in the Boiling Isles because things that she gets involved with keep seeming to go wrong. And when she finds out she's partially responsible for what Belos has done to the Boiling Isles, that makes it a lot harder on her to not only press forward, but to really find her place, in the Boiling Isles where she thought she finally was fitting in. Oh, it's hard. That's really hard. I think a lot of people relate to something like that, finding this place where you think you fit in, where you think that you found your tribe, only to find out that it's not working out and that you really don't belong there. It's a hard thing to realize. And sometimes you realize it by mistake. Sometimes you are not wrong when you realize, sometimes you are not right when you realize that. And that's what happens here, which is great to see. So that's Luz's character growth. You can tell I'm leaving off one particular character. We'll talk about Amity. We will talk about Amity here in a bit. Yeah, what else can I go into here? Because there's so much. You can tell how good the show is. You can tell how many ideas and how much room this show had to grow if it was given more time. There's so many different ways. There's so many different ways they could have grown this world and shown us more. So many different stories they could have told. It is upsetting. It's upsetting that this is all that we're going to get. For now, you never know. But yeah. Okay, so I guess we do need to kind of talk about the elephant in the room, which is the LGBT representation in the show. So if you're just watching just to hear me talk about the show, and you don't care about spoilers, but you haven't watched the series, and you didn't know that this was coming, for whatever reason, if you weren't aware, yes, this show is very LGBT friendly. We're going to talk about it. If you don't like that, you can do two things for me. One, you can get over it, because gay people aren't going away. You just need to learn to live with it. And it really, how are they hurting you in any way? And two, you just go ahead and leave now. You saw my opinions. You saw the non-spoiler section. Yeah, you're done here. Go. Bye. Bye. So let's actually talk here. So one of the things that I loved in the show was how it did handle its romances. Dana said she didn't want to focus on the romances. She didn't want that to really be a focus of the show. And then it really became a focus of the show. So it ranges. It ranges. So you've got the hetero couple, which is Hunter and Willow. And they play that very slow. They play that very background. It's like one of the least obvious ones in the show because it's very natural. It's very much awkward high schoolers crushing on each other kind of romance, and subtly crushing. And to see that go it's kind of a late night. I would have loved to have had more time with them, but we got what we got, and I still enjoy what we got. So that's good. And they weren't in a hurry to couple them either. They weren't in a hurry to rush them together. That's the important thing. We got to see an old flame, which was Ida and her former I need to learn how to phrase these things very, very carefully. Ida and her former partner, Rain, who is completely, non-binary. So they, them. And Rain is a phenomenal character. Oh my God, Rain is a badass. When they have their little twist moment, you realize what they've done in season 2. It's so freaking cool. It's so cool. Rain is one of those just very clever and surprisingly powerful characters. They're a bard mage, but the way they use their bard magic is incredibly clever, and things that basically if Doctor Who could get away with it with a sonic screwdriver, they can get away with it with a violin or just a whistle. And they use it to great effect. But because the way the storyline works out, we are forced to see Ida and Rain combat each other, and it's very uncomfortable. knowing how much they meant to each other and what their relationship was, to see them at odds and actually battling is heartbreaking. There's one thing that I couldn't mention in the non-spoiler section. This show's not afraid of breaking your heart. Like, at all. There's the cliffhanger in season 2 where it looks like everything is doomed and hopeless, and it's like really crushing. There is the death of Flapjack. They were not afraid of killing off the cute, super endearing bird for the sake of emotional impact. And not like cheap, like why the bother with this? I think genuine deserved emotional impact for the scene. You know, I feel like the show can handle the weight of moments like that because it does them so well. You know, and the show does not shy away from traumatizing its viewer in any way, shape, or form. And there's a lot of that throughout the series. There's a lot of moments that like really make you feel like this is really like just either incredibly bad or just incredibly heartbreaking. And they do that a lot, but they come back from it. The idea, like, it's not done for shock value. It's done for genuine story growth. Yeah, really solid. Really solid. And then, if we have to go back to the romance territory, then we have to actually talk about the big one, which is Lumity. It is Luz and Amity, who start as rivals to amicable to one-sided crush to way too hard crushing Amity, calm down, to a mutual, to an actual coupling. And it's one of the best paced romances I've ever seen. Every time Luz and Amity share an episode, there's a little bit more progression in their relationship. They're not in a hurry to get through with it. They don't rush it out, and they don't treat the kiss and the I love you as like the big thing to end the story, because guess what? They get together in the middle of the series. Who does that? That's always the thing you save to the end. She-Ra saved it till literally the last 3 minutes. That's huge. It's huge for representation, for starters, because you show them in a very healthy and loving relationship without going like, okay, they got together at the end. Because if you've been in a relationship, you know that's the coupling is like chapter 1 end. The rest of the story comes after that. When you want to see your favorite characters together, you never get to see it because it's always wait to the end. You actually get to see Luz and Amity as just girlfriends for a good chunk of this series, and it's incredibly heartwarming to see it. So, God, I could gush. So here's the thing. Here's the thing I want you to know about the writing and how good this writing is when it comes to this couple. Take away Luz's gender, all right? If it bothers you that 2 girls got together in this show, put aside Luz's gender and then look at what you have. You have one of the best written, most wholesome, and healthiest relationships I have ever seen depicted in a TV show, animated or otherwise. When there is drama between the two, they do not drag it out to tease a breakup. They do not have someone else come in that might pull one away from the other as drama. They don't pull any of those kind of stunts. If there is something going wrong between them, they talk it out and they get through it. They come to a better understanding of each other. They have healthy couple things going on. And we take a while just to even get an actual kiss between the characters. Unlike anything else in Disney, where the kiss is the first thing they jump to. It's not traditional Disney storytelling when it comes to a romance. It actually is very well paced, plotted out, and you get to see it for a lot longer. And it's brilliantly done. For a straight couple, gay couple, whatever. It's an incredibly wholesome, well-written, and expertly paced story. And it's one of the biggest things that drove this series, and one of the most popular things that came out of this series. And it's for good reason. For good reason. Even if Luz was a boy, I'd still think this was an incredible job at writing a romance in a show. There's a lot more than just that. I can't just be a shipper and just gush about the shipping of the whole thing. So the show is great. I've been gushing now for like 25 minutes about how great I think this show is. There's really like, I don't really find flaw in the show. When I think back to the whole series, I kind of think, okay, well, maybe the first half of season one's a little bit weaker, but you're establishing a lot. You know, you're just kind of filling up space, not being too plot heavy yet. That's to be expected. So I'm not really like begrudging that. But everything else beyond that is just so freaking good. You know, and it's just like I want to go watch the show again. Now that it's all over, I want to go watch the show again. Now, why is it over if it's so good? Well, so we had high hopes because season 1 hadn't debuted yet and Disney already ordered season 2. So you knew that the people in charge actually liked what they were seeing. But then we found out sometime during like the early half of season 2 that season 3 was heavily chopped. It went from 20 episodes to 3 double-length specials. So we went from 20 episodes worth of story and content to 6, which is a real buzzkill and really had you like go, why? And the first gut reaction is that Disney cut it because of the LGBT content. Oh, yeah, so a lot of people have this very reactionary thing where they'll watch an episode and, you know, Luz and Amity will kiss and they'll go, oh, now I see why Disney cut this. Oh, because it's got the gays in it. No, it's not what happened. Dana and her team would have had to tell Disney up front from the beginning what they were planning to do and where the story was going for Luz and Amity, for all of the LGBT representation in this. They would have had to be upfront and honest about all of it. People act as though Disney doesn't know what happens on its TV channel until the episode airs on the channel. I've got news for you. They have those episodes months in advance, and even before then, they know exactly what's going to happen because they wouldn't give Dana and her team a dime to produce this show if they didn't like what was going to happen. So it's not that content, no. From what we've heard, it was one person on the board, one executive who decided this doesn't fit the Disney profile. This doesn't feel like a Disney show. And that's the sole reason it got cut. Now, we don't know anything beyond that. We've been assured by Dana that it was not the LGBT content. It feels more like it feels like it's the macabre imagery because there is a lot of bones and guts and like somewhat demonic imagery. It's been like Disney-fied, but it's still really creepy. Yeah, just like a lot of like weird dark elements, right? So it could be that, just because it doesn't look like a Disney show, but it also could be the fact that it is serialized. It's an ongoing story, and Disney really likes episodic. Episodic means they can rerun the shows, the episodes, at any time of day, and they're not, and they're always like, it's just like one self-contained story that anyone just tuning in and watching can just sit down and watch and not get lost or anything. So I understand that. I understand it might not fit the profile of the show they kind of want to air. They've done it before. They've aired shows like that. No, the truth is Disney is just a really old company that's just really behind the times. And they really just don't know what they're doing at sometimes. When it comes to things like the LGBT representation and the popularity of the show, the downside to this show was the popularity online is so much stronger than it was on television. So when they uploaded season 3 episode 1 to YouTube, and in just a few days it hit 1 million views. It hit 1 million views in well under a week. And we found out that turned heads at Disney because now they could see the numbers in real time. For the first time, they had a metric that showed them, here's your real fans. Here are the people who are your real fans. And here's how popular this show really is. And it was one of those moments where, it's too late, but at least they know what they lost now. At least now they know what kind of mistake they made. And Dana and her crew have been adamant that, yes, the numbers, watching it on YouTube, watching it on Disney, still adds to the chance of getting more content from this universe, whether that could be a potential comic book follow-up, could be a sequel series, a prequel. Dana really wants to do a prequel with young Ida and Rain. Or it could be like what I would like is to see a completely different part of the demon realm. Like, make me fall in love with a new cast of characters in the same universe. And then, like, season 2, we start throwing in the old cast for the big adventure, that kind of thing. As I sit here, the third and final special is now out on Disney's YouTube channel for free. It's actually extended. If you watched it on TV, go watch the extended cut. The extended cut is so much better. Well, so much better. It gives you 8 more minutes of content. How about that? But right now, as I sit here, it has only been up for half a day. And it is, as of this recording, over 1.2 million views. Which for the Disney Channel is incredibly fast to get to that point. Yeah, it's... I hope for the best. I hope this makes Disney realize how much they screwed up. I really do hope it makes them, like, rethink this. And now they're not going to continue the show, unfortunately. It's reached a definitive ending. Even if you do continue it with a sequel series, it takes place right after the finale. It just wouldn't be the same. It wouldn't be the same. It'd feel like one of those shows. I think it might start feeling like one of those shows that lived out a little bit too long. Just because, there's more story to tell, but it feel like they're picking up scraps, and I don't want scraps, I want the main course. So that's why I'm thinking, like, new series? Yeah? Give Dana a new series? Yeah? Give Dana a new series? Yeah? All right, so I've been gushing for over half an hour now. I thought this was going to be like a quick 15, 20-minute video and be out the door. No. I have way too much to say about this show. I probably should have waited and organized it, but hey, the show's over now. I'm a little bit out of time. So if you stuck through this long, thank you very much for listening to me ramble. Yeah, it's... I got emotional at the end of this. Like, oh my God, it's over now. Because this was my feel-good show. This is the show I went back to watch when I was having a bad day. This was the show this is the first show I connected to after my grandmother passed. Because, yeah, like, that's when I picked it up. Because I just need, I need a feel-good show. What's a feel-good show? Okay. Demon Realm, Isekai, cool. And yeah, and I love watching reactions to it because I love watching people who also enjoy it. So yeah, if any of this has convinced you to go and watch the show for yourself, keep in mind, I've talked about it for 30 minutes. I have not even scratched the surface of everything that goes on in this show, the characters, the overall plot. I didn't even talk about the finale. Yeah, please go watch it, support it, because there's always a chance we could get more. And even if we don't, it's genuinely worth the time. It is worth your time and effort to go watch. So that is it for me. It's been a long video, but I would thank you for making it through this far. I'll get back to normal stuff eventually. We'll get back to it tomorrow. But until then, thank you for watching. I will see you next time. Guys, I am facing the most powerful enemy any YouTuber can face, the algorithm, and I need your help to defeat him. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave a comment. Every time you do, we attack that algorithm and we drive it back until it can no longer defeat this channel. Thank you very much.